Hey guys, and welcome to my Dragon Link video, and this is my updated list after the remote duel. And actually a couple of Dragon Link lists topped, and there were similarities between the lists. Some people were opting to play the Dragoonity package, while the topping two lists were not playing the Dragoonity package. So this is inspired off of the LCS top 4, and this is kind of similar to the list but not the exact same. So this is like kind of like my version of the list. So big shout outs to the winner. And yeah, let's get into the deck profile. So basically Dragon Link is now a control deck and not really a combo deck. So you're not playing stuff like World Legacy Guard Dragon because you really don't need it, because you don't have LP anymore, and it's just not worth playing because you really don't need to do that with Pisty, and you're barely ever going to use Pisty effect ever because it's just not worth it. And you're not playing World Legacy at all. There's space for like much better extenders in your deck, like Noctivision, which can summon itself out, which is also a chain block, and it can also draw you a card and protect your back row. So it has 3 uses. So that is really good because you're playing back row like Droplet and Tidying, which you don't want your opponent to just destroy. So that's another thing that Noctivision can protect. But if they're using Cosmic, it's just gone. But still, Noctivision has multiple uses, and it's better than World Legacy. So you're playing Noctivision. And basically, the goal of this deck is to break boards going second, as well as set up multiple negates going first. And your going first board would consist of like Seal, Tidying, and sometimes you can have some other stuff like, droplets and stuff like that. So basically you can also have Savage or Hot Red in your end board as well if you draw the right hand. And yeah, that doesn't seem like much, but it can actually deal with many of the top meta decks right now. Drytrons and Tri-Brigades are actually very fragile when you're dealing with interruptions, and interruptions like Tidying and Seal actually help a lot against those matchups, because if you were to just use them on one of your opponent, if you use it at the right time at your opponent, you can actually make them just stop and not combo as much as they would. So that is very, very useful. And that's a good thing about this deck, because even with less resources, you can easily spam the dragons onto your board, and you can just break boards going second as well with all of your cards. And you also have multiple removal and hand trap options as well. So you're playing a lot of those safeguard kind of cards, like stuff that make sure you get your combo through. So you're playing the Gamma and Talons. So Talons is great for protecting your combo. So by protecting your combo, what I mean is, if you were to get hand trapped, your Gamma can protect you from Ash and stuff like that. And Talons can also draw you extra cards, which gives you more extenders, or it can also help break boards when you're going second, or just look at your opponent's hand and put something back. So those are very, very useful. And you're also playing 3 Tidying rather than 2, because you really want to see it in your hand. And if you open Chamber or Tidying, it's just better for you because you won't have to go and dig into your deck for it. And you also play 2 Recharger in this deck and just 1 Synchron, because you only needed 1 Recharger before because you had 3 Striker and you could just use its effect over and over. But you can't really do that in this deck, so you need 2 Recharger in case you open one. So that's another change. And this deck is also playing number 68 for Drytrons, because you can just make Levy and Chaos Ruler, and then you can just go from there. And then you also play Dark Arm, the Dragon of Annihilation. So the list that topped was actually playing this card, and it's also great for basic removal while going second, because it just pops a card on the field. And it can be easily summoned if you have exactly 5 Darks in the grave, which happens quite a lot. And you can use Noctivision, Abs, or Red Eyes Darkness Metal to summon it out. Even Levy works. So all of these can be used as material if you have exactly 5 Darks in the grave, and it's great as just generic removal. So that's another thing this deck has access to. And yeah, and you also have Quad Borrow for going second, which is amazing against Tri-Brigades, because you can just use this effect to destroy the Link 4, and then you can just summon 4 rockets from the graveyard if you have them. So that's just another thing about this deck that's amazing, because Quad just destroys Tri-Brigades and gets you an insane amount of advantage. And yeah, that's basically what this deck can do. You can also side according to your matchup. You can see in the side deck you have Drolls and Phantasme and back row removal. So depending on your matchup, you can side. And Sky Strikers are also in this meta, so you want to play multiple back row removal cards as well, because strikers can be a real pain to play against. So you have access to those as well. So all in all, this is a very good control option. I've been testing this deck and playing against a few friends, and it performed pretty well. Some of the weaknesses of this deck is that it can't play the grind game for too long if you burn through all of your resources. So even if you were to set up only like 1 or 2 negates, make sure you have follow-up so that you can play next turn and actually, break your opponent's board. So that is actually very important with this deck. You don't want to burn all of your resources at once, because this deck can't really come back if your opponent breaks your board. So that's basically all I have to say for this deck profile. I think you should try it out yourself and let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.